Good afternoon and welcome back to the Space Vehicle Mock-Up Facility at Johnson Space Center. We are here with 12 brand new astronaut candidates who are going to make up the 2017 Astronaut Candidate Class, and we have just a little while with them for folks here in the audience to ask questions. But before we do, I'm going to go through their names one more time, and then we will get started. So we have here with us today Kayla Barron, and we're going to go in alphabetical order, Zena Cardman, Raja Chari, Matthew Dominic, Bob Hines, Warren Woody Hoberg, Johnny Kim, Rob Cooleen, Jasmine Mobelli, Laurel O'Hara, Frank Rubio, and Jessica Watkins. So we have, I believe, a mic ready for you to ask questions with. If you can raise your hands and let us know where to, if you have a question, and we be sure and give us your name and affiliation, and if you can, direct your question to the candidate you want to answer it. All right, let's go here. Right here.
Hi, Robert Perlman with CollectSpace.com and Space.com. A question for all of you. I wonder how many of you knew that you wanted to be an astronaut when you were a kid, if there was any specific memory that inspired that, if you attended space camp, or if there was some other experience that sort of led you to this point.
I'll take it and run with it. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know that there was a specific defining point. I know there's I was always interested in aviation, and there are pictures in our photo albums of me back when I was, 1 or 2 at the Munich airport with my nose pressed up against the windows watching the airplanes out there. So aviation was always in it. And then the first memory I have about space flight was really watching STS-1. We had just moved back to the United States, and it was on TV, and I just remember being absolutely amazed with it. I tell people quite a bit that, if you asked me when I was a kid what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would have said a pilot, because the astronaut thing was not even on the radar for me in terms of being possible. Had you rephrased it and said, do you want to be an astronaut? I'd have been like, absolutely. That'd have been, that would. But I did get to attend space camp at one point, and it just fanned that flame, that interest in getting down there and really being able to see big hardware like the stuff you see around here. It just fanned that flame, and I was really excited, and it just kept me going throughout the rest of my career.
All right. Right here. And also, I forgot to mention that we do have also with us Chris Cassidy, who was the deputy chair of the Astronaut Selection Board, in case we have any astronaut selection related questions that candidates don't know the inside scoop on. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations. My name is Carl Clark. I'm with In Space on the left. So I have one question about propulsion for you, Kayla, considering you were on subs and nuclear propulsion is a big deal there. What are your thoughts on nuclear thermal propulsion, all kind of like the NERVA engine, maybe solar electric, things like that, or maybe using ion electric with a fission reactor? I know that was your degree field, correct? Or am I asking the wrong person? I was trying to remember everybody that was listed off earlier, and I remember there was a nuclear physicist.
So I did nuclear engineering for my graduate degree, working on a thorium-fueled next-generation terrestrial-based reactor concept. So I don't know a ton about the technology that NASA's working on for propulsion for deep space exploration missions. Certainly, I think nuclear is being considered both for surface power on Mars or the Moon, and also potentially to propel vehicles. But it's kind of our first day on the job here, so I don't know a ton about it yet, but I can say that I'm really excited to be a part of NASA's super exciting and phenomenal team and contribute in any way I can. Of course, sir, I'd love to be assigned any projects related to nuclear power, but that's a few years down the road once we finish our candidate training.
All right, I think we have some over here.
Eric Berger with Ars Technica. So the last class in 2013 came in, and I think they were told primarily that they were going to be going to the space station. I'm curious during the interview process what you were told about, destinations or vehicles, or what you were being hired essentially by NASA to go and do.
So the vehicles that we've been told is, is the SpaceX Dragon, Starliner, and the International Space Station. These are the different vehicles that we can possibly take in the future, but I think for the future it's maybe a little unclear. We're just happy to be here, finish our candidate training, and venture out into the deep unknowns of space and the solar system.
All right, Mark?
Thank you. I'm Mark Carreau with Aviation Week. And I don't know if two of you would self-select, but I'm interested in how you think your group differs maybe significantly from some of the earlier astronaut groups. It seems to me like some really different backgrounds and professional and personal. And I don't know, how do you guys see yourself in that regard?
Well, I think one thing that was a bigger focus in this selection was skills that are appropriate for longer-term space flight. So, ISS stays on the ISS that are 6 months or longer, or possible deeper space exploration missions. And so, a lot of us have a background or experience doing similar kind of or work that involves similar skills, like working in Antarctica for Xena, or working on submarines for Kayla. So. Yeah, I think just we have a little bit more of a remote and extreme environment skill set than maybe previous classes did.
Okay, we can go over here.
Hi, congratulations. And my name is Keisha Rogers, and I work with 21st Century Science and Technology. The Vice President earlier mentioned the inspirational words of President John F. Kennedy, who, I don't know if you guys know this, but he would have turned 100 this year on May 29th. And you guys are a very extraordinary selection of candidates because you came out of 18,000 candidates. And my question to you is, what is your inspiration, looking back on the history of NASA? How do you see yourselves continuing to move those footsteps forward in terms of what NASA will represent for the future? And anyone can answer that question.
With regards to moving things forward, for me, coming here, yeah, sure, it'd be awesome to be part of the first person to do something new, whether a new planet or go back to the moon and go back to those things. But more so, it's about being part of the team, working on tough problems. I think we talked a moment ago about how diverse a background, how maybe this group might be different. Having known this group now for 48 hours and having worked with them, I can tell you that all of us are very similar and that we're all passionate people that love to solve tough problems because they're hard. And so moving forward, that's what we want to do. We want to solve those problems. We don't have to be the person. We can just be part of a team that moves forward.
Nice. All right, one back here.
Hi, my name is Ray Viator, and I'm with Space City, USA. The question's for Laurel, and as only the second native Houstonian to be named an astronaut, what's your thought on it? What's it mean to Houston? And did you talk to Shannon Walker at all in the last few months about preparing for something like this?
What was the question again?
The question is, as the second native Houston to go into the astronaut corps, did you talk, or what are your thoughts about Houston as the home of the human spaceflight program, and did you talk to Shannon Walker about it at all?
Well, I was born here and raised in Sugar Land, and I actually haven't lived here since high school, but I'm really excited to move back to Houston. My parents still live here, and my sister's here. And I met Shannon Walker during the interview process, and we did talk a little bit about Houston, and just it's a great city, and I'm excited to move back. So,
I would maybe add on to that. You participated in a lot of NASA activities, maybe because you were here. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I grew up in Sugar Land, and we got to go on lots of class field trips to Johnson Space Center, and then my family would just go to Johnson Space Center as well on the weekends for visits. And then I also had opportunities in school, like the project I mentioned earlier in second grade, where my class got to plant tomato seeds that had flown on the space shuttle. and just opportunities like that were kind of unique, I guess, to growing up in Houston. And that kind of set me on the path, I think, to taking advantage of opportunities with NASA down the road, too. And like in high school, I used to come to watch the space shuttle debriefings when they used to do those at the Space Center. And then in college, I worked with the Space Grant and did the Reduced Gravity Student Flight Opportunities Program and then several internships. So it was kind of an early involvement with NASA that I just stuck with.
All right, I think we have some questions from social media now.
All right, we got a couple questions from social media. On Facebook, Greta wants to know, my third grade class in Houston, Texas wants to know what's the first thing you want to do in space?
Who has plans?
A victory dance for getting there.
I'd say, go ahead. I'd say check out the view.
I think it'd be, yes, check out the view, but also make sure I don't throw up for being 0G.
All right, we have another one from Tracy, wants to know what internship experiences prepared you most for this opportunity?
I know we have a few who have interned at NASA before, and I'm guessing there are some other NASA or internships mixed in.
Yeah, I didn't intern directly at NASA, but I had a lot of funding and support for internships and field experiences from space grants, especially the North Carolina Space Grant and later the Pennsylvania Space Grant. And so these experiences took me to British Columbia to work for the Pavilion Lake Research Project, which is a NASA and Canadian Space Agency project using a lake there to draw analogies for space exploration, learning how to conduct science under the constraints of a space mission. And that was incredibly helpful and let me meet a lot of people who actually work for NASA, including several astronauts, which was just an awesome experience.
I had the pleasure of getting to do 2 internships for NASA, and that was definitely a huge piece of what drove my interest in understanding the culture and the work ethic of the folks here. While I was at the academy, I got to work at Goddard Space Flight Center at the time on what was called at the time the Space Infrared Telescope Facility, and I was pretty much, one of my tasks was to make an acronym list. So I was by no means cutting edge engineering. I was basically like a errand boy, go do. But it was awesome just to be a part of that. And then in grad school, I worked on some of the Mars sample return mission algorithms for how to do an autonomous orbital rendezvous. And again, it was just the exposure to the folks in that case at JPL, and really reinforced for me that this is the community that I want to be a part of. And that's why I'm, still beaming that, we've got the opportunity to be such a part of such an amazing team here at Johnson at NASA. It's just going to be an awesome future in front of us and for the agency.
Jessica has something as well.
Yeah, just really quick. I also have done several internships at NASA. I've worked at NASA Ames, working on the Phoenix Mars lander, looking at Martian soil. I've also done 3 internships at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, working on the also Mars sample return and Mars 2020, the upcoming rover, as well as MSL, the Mars Science Laboratory rover, and also working on some asteroid work, looking at NEOWISE, the NEOWISE mission. And all of these opportunities have been really beneficial in providing me the experience that I think has helped me get here, and as well as the understanding of what Raja was mentioning, the teamwork aspect of it, and how much NASA works together to accomplish the impossible.
All right, question over here.
Hi, my name is Lindsay Henry. I'm a reporter with Fox 26. And congrats, first off. I'm so excited for all of y'all and to be here, so thank you. My question's for Robert Hines. Robert, you are the only astronaut right now, or the future astronaut, the new astronaut, that currently works for NASA. So has becoming an astronaut been something that was your goal from the very beginning? And to finally reach that goal, how does it feel?
Actually, no. I didn't really learn about it until I got hired here. That I don't want to say there's a long history, but there's certain precedent for people that were doing the research pilot job to have been picked up. It's been 25 years, I think, since the last, somewhere around there, since the last individual was selected out of the aircraft operations division out there. So actually what brought me down here, I mean, obviously there was a job opening, but it really appealed to me because, you know, like all of us are alluding to, we've seen NASA the whole time growing up, and we've heard about all the great things that they do, and the amazing teamwork and being a part of the team down here. That was one thing I told my previous employer when I left. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be a tiny little cog in this giant space wheel, but that's worth it. You know, it's going to be so cool to get down there and be able to train these guys in the airplanes. Was just really exciting to me. And then I got here and I'm like, holy cow, someone actually came from this job and went into the astronaut office. And then I put the glimmer of hope out there. And then once I started getting wind of there being a astronaut selection coming up, I thought, all right, that was my chance. I'm the old guy on the board here right now, so I knew the clock was ticking on me. But thankfully, it all worked out, and it's a blessing to be here.
Have you given your fellow classmates any tips on moving to Houston?
Yes, we've been talking about places to live, and obviously the whole Clear Lake, Friendswood area down here is just amazing, and you can't really go wrong, right? The school districts are great, and the NASA influence in the whole area down here is just awesome. So coming out of the military, we're very rarely in urban areas near big cities, and so for us, when we got down here, we were sure how we would handle it. But we absolutely love the area. The Houston community and the sense of community around here, even though it's a big city, is really awesome. And the support that everybody has for NASA, the whole Houston area really seems to support NASA, so it's awesome.
Eric Berger again with Ars Technica. Question for Rob. Could you talk about what you did at SpaceX, what you worked on, and then you're not actually going to ride in a Starliner, are you, man?
I'll ride on whatever spacecraft I can go on. I'm pretty confident in the processes as a whole to get us there safely. So during my tenure at SpaceX, I started out doing design and analysis of various systems on Falcon 9. So actually, started kind of the base level there. Got involved in actually building some of the first V1.1 vehicle that flew. It was 2012 or 2013, a while back. Worked operations for the structures department. Worked launch operations, and then most recently have been running the launch chief engineering group and what we call flight reliability. And the whole, part of flight reliability is really to try to make sure things don't go wrong. And when they unfortunately do, like in the Flight 29 failure this last fall, is to try to run those things to the ground to make sure they don't happen again. Even before I got lucky enough to get a phone call a couple weeks ago, my whole goal coming out of that, and I would say the team's whole goal, was to make sure that the Falcon 9 was as reliable and successful as possible for SpaceX's commercial partners, but also, of course, very importantly for the crew that'll fly on that vehicle. And I think it's something that just helped us grow stronger and me go stronger as an engineer.
We have one right here as well.
How many of you hope to be on the first mission to Mars?
Have you gotten a look at the Orion spacecraft? It's pretty tight in there. All right. Question up here.
Carl Clark again with In Space on the left. Kind of along the same vein as that, if you could imagine yourself discovering one thing in your career as an astronaut, kind of what would you like it to be, given your very diverse background of engineering, science, physics, all that kind of good stuff? If there's something you could discover, what would you like it to be?
I think for me, one of the things that's always kind of drawn me to space is the different view that it seems like space must give you, right? So trying to look from space down on Earth and realizing how delicate this planet is. And honestly, I think less of a discovery of something new, but more of discovering a way to really express that to all the people across the planet. I think that would be something amazing. If we could really try to help people realize that borders are something that we create, and they're not natural, I think we would just make the world a better place. So if we could discover a way to kind of spread that understanding or knowledge, that'd be incredible.
It looked like Woody maybe wanted to say something as well.
Well, I don't think that was a great answer, Rob. So I'm an engineer, and one of the things that I've found about throughout my whole career is that just to expect the unexpected. And so that's kind of the very nature of discovery is, hey, we don't know what we're going out to find, but it's going to be really cool when we do. So I think that's what most excites me.
Go ahead.
Hi, Robert Perlman with CollectSpace at space.com again. You're about in August, you'll begin 2 years of basic training. Is there any particular experience you're really looking forward to? Is there any particular thing that you know about the astronaut experience that you're not looking forward to?
Really looking forward to working at the neutral buoyancy lab and hopping in a spacesuit and pretending to do spacewalks and EVAs.
I'm actually really looking forward to learning the Russian language. I think the chance to learn a new language as an adult is a pretty amazing opportunity, and then from there getting to do all of this international collaboration and traveling abroad to other centers to learn from them. I think that's going to be really exciting.
If there's one thing I've learned in the last 48 hours, it's how cool it is to be a naval aviator. So I'm really looking forward to flying jets.
Anyone got anything they're not looking forward to? All right.
Space toilet.
Another question from social media now.
A couple more. I know we've touched on this earlier, but it's worth reiterating. TJ on Facebook wants to know how many of you were inspired in part by the NASA outreach through its education office?
Absolutely. I was in when I was at University of San Diego. I put in a request and put a proposal in and got to do the Reduced Gravity Student Flight Opportunities Program, and came out here to Ellington, and that I think is through the Education Office. Incredible opportunity, incredibly inspirational. There's a couple of key phrases that got mentioned to me there that I have never forgotten, and things that inspired me there for sure.
That's awesome, thanks. From Holly, my daughter just graduated high school and last month visited NASA in Florida. She was inspired to major in engineering at college this fall. What are some other things she can do to achieve her goal of working at NASA someday?
Jessica, go ahead.
I've got the mic right now. Continue to do what you love, right? Astronaut was always an option in the back of my head or the front of my head as I went through life, but just continue to do what you love, and the pieces will fall in every time.
Anybody else?
I'd say learn to be a team player. No, I'm just kidding. No, also that. But so I actually. I actually started out as an engineering major in college, and I found that wasn't what I loved. It wasn't what I was passionate about, and so I actually went back to the kind of requirements for being an astronaut because I knew then that was kind of the end goal, and found that you can major in any STEM field, so science, technology, mathematics, and so that's how I fell into geology, and particularly planetary geology, and that path has led me here. So I would say that keep those super high goals, but know that your path to get there may change.
Well, and on the subject of being a team player, you've played on quite a few teams. I think you think that had anything to do with you getting this far?
Yes, absolutely. So I've played sports most of my life. In college in particular, I played rugby on the Stanford women's rugby team, and also played on the national team as well, the national women's sevens rugby team. And definitely that experience has helped me understand the importance of teamwork and discipline and working towards goals and putting in that hard work and dedication. So I certainly think that has shaped who I am today and helped me get here.
Any other questions? I'm going to close with one for Chris.
Let me ask one real quick. So the selection process culminates with
Us having the opportunity to make the phone calls to offer you guys jobs, except for Bob's instance. And there's lots of emotion in those phone calls, but by far the most emotion, Zena, was your phone call. Can you tell us or share with the audience what was going through your mind? Where were you, and what happened when you hung up the phone after you said yes to us?
Sure. So we knew the day that we were going to get the phone call, and my fiance is actually out on a research vessel right now, and so I asked a couple of very close friends to first, keep the secret, and second, come keep me company, come babysit me. So they made me breakfast tacos, and we were sitting around in my living room. And there's a series of photos of that morning where you can just watch my face going from, you know, anything could happen, this is going to be a great day no matter what, to just like, oh no, I'm, you know, as I'm just losing energy, losing hope. And then a photo of me getting the phone call, and, you know, I had my hand over my heart because it was just absolute, utter, overwhelming emotion. You know, I haven't stopped smiling since, but I don't think I've ever smiled that big in my life. It was awesome. And right after that, I immediately called my fiance. I woke him up in his bunk. He was asleep. He was on the night shift. And according to my friends, I didn't even tell him I got the job. I'm just, you know, sort of laugh crying over the phone. And I guess he figured it out. But yeah, getting to share that moment with those friends and everyone, it was just awesome.
Your emotion came through on the phone, and we had our hands on our hearts too. So
that's really great. Thank you.
All right. Well, Chris, since you got to spend a lot of time with these guys during the interview process, and you were one of the many who worked to get the 18,000 plus applications down from 18,000 to 12, anything you'd say about this class and kind of what you see going forward for them in the future?
Well, I think their egos are blown up quite enough already, so I don't need to let them know how great they are. But no, in all seriousness, getting down from 18,000 to some manageable number was a feat in and of itself. And we physically interviewed 120 people here in Houston. Obviously, these 12 were part of that. And that's when it really gets hard. I thought the 18,000 to 120 was difficult, but that's all paper and there's no emotion. We don't know the individuals as people yet. And then we spend an hour with them in the conference room and socialize with them in the evening and get to know all the individuals personally. And it was really hard to make some of the other phone calls to the folks that you guys met with and interviewed with and know that there's some really talented, capable people out there. But we're so happy to have these 12, and it was just a real treat to invite and talk about those particular names and these particular faces and make the phone calls to bring them here. We're just really excited to get started and get them going and integrate them into the office.
Yes, we're looking forward to getting them back here in August. And I think we have one more question, then we'll wrap up.
Okay. Keisha Rogers, 21st Century again. I just wanted to ask, I remembered earlier someone was saying that they had 4 children and a wife. I couldn't remember who it was. And I'm sure the rest of you all have husbands, wives, children. And that's a big, really big undertaking there. How is your family taking it? What is the support level from the family? And then also, how do you transition from family life to this career?
Yeah, so I think most of us would agree we all have amazing spouses or partners or family members. I mean, again, it's just the amount of support you need to do some of the things we've been blessed to do is immeasurable. And, you know, but it's also important, you know, you read these resumes and you look at our careers and you think that all you ever do is work, but I think it's really important to have balance in life. And I personally have tried to do that at every step of the way. You know, they may not get a ton of time, but the time that they do get, try to make it quality. And sometimes you have to just put down the work and focus on family. And if that means passing up a goal or an accomplishment, then so be it. Fortunately, I've been blessed enough that it's worked out okay so far. But I think that balance, you know, is an advice that I try to give to all young people that I talk to because it's important.
All right. I think that's a great note to wrap up on. So we're going to say goodbye. But of course, you're going to want to find out more about these guys. You can go to nasa.gov/2017 astronauts for their bios and photos and lots more information. Thanks for joining us.